Welcome to the Adult Amateurs Guidebook podcast, where we dive into the world of adult amateur equestrians, talking about everything from riding woes to feeding regimens to horse show days. Get ready for the real and authentic conversations about the challenges and joys of being an adult amateur and trying to live out our horse girl dreams. Let's tack up, grab a glass of wine, and ride into the world of the adult amateur.
Yeah.
All right, this week's episode really hits home for me because this is with my trainer, Alison Sims, who I am so...
That's not her name anymore.
Guys?
It's Alison Courtney.
My trainer, Alison Courtney, where Ollie is now living and residing. And I am a new girl on the block. So to have her here and to speak her truth and all the things that she has been so politely teaching me the past 2 months has been a blessing. And it's for all of you adult amateurs out there that want to ask trainers all of the questions that are maybe like
a little too scared.
A little too scared to ask. This is your episode. This is the episode you need to listen to because we ask everything about budgets, about asking that trainer-client relationship and how it builds and how it grows, and really just all of the anxieties that all of us adult amateurs have. So you guys enjoy.
This is what I'm married to the AV guy. He tells me. That's I don't know.
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay.
Okay.
Just have to get the Alex stamp of approval.
Like breathe really hard into the mic.
Yeah. I know.
Ooh.
I know. Sometimes, and that's like the beauty of the podcast is like
you can edit.
Oh my God!
I didn't know it could do that.
Can you do that?
You can program these to love different things.
No, it's still going.
It's a bird.
Oh, there
It was a couple things, yeah.
Oh my God! Wait. All right, guys, and we're back here tonight. Thanks so much for watching.
That was pretty good.
That's really good. Are you recording this?
Yeah,
Oh,
we're live.
good.
We can edit out all the stuff.
No, I think it's funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, that's so fun. I mean, we don't have to
So we can program, like I give like a song. We can program it into it so we
I was like, I feel like you need an intro.
Yeah.
She has an intro. She just adds it.
I add it later.
After the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be way cooler on the spot, though.
It would be.
Yeah.
The person next to you is just like,
I know. It's so loud.
It's happening. I wasn't nervous until now. No, for sure. Okay, well, we're so excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
Well, good. We interviewed your mom.
I know.
Oh my God,
She was
what
talking
a
to me about
doll.
that today.
I cannot wait for everybody to hear it. It's but it is a little... It's crappy because I didn't have my amazing producer with me.
Yeah, it was just
shout out
us
to Alex. It
winging
was
it.
just us like putting it together. So like we only have like 20 minutes of video of it.
Gotcha.
And then we have the rest of the audio. So it's going to be like, we'll have some clips to share, but like you'll have to like Spotify it.
Yeah,
and, like,
list
listen to it.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But we're so happy to have you.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for asking me.
So
We get like the Sims legends.
I know. I know. It's amazing.
You already had you started with the OG. And
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
We're going to get your brother too because we want to talk like course
should.
design, derby
Yes.
design.
we should talk about USHJ because
I
he just
know.
made it on the
I
board of
know.
directors.
I
Yeah.
saw that.
Pretty
Yeah.
big deal.
So he's next if he'll talk to us. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, too famous right
Oh,
now.
pressure.
I know.
Yeah.
Got you.
Whose interviews the best? You're going to be like, how are those analytics looking? Am I still up front?
Show me the insights.
Yeah, I need to see all of it. No, for sure. But like, it's amazing, like watching all of you guys do all of your different things and do like,
Successful.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so much
thanks.
fun and all the horsey things.
All of our little caveats in the
I know-
industry.
Yeah, we're getting a little off script, but like, did Jay just get like sucked in? Or was he like actually interested? Like, how did that evolve?
Sucked in too interested, right?
Okay.
So he's a very analytical mind, and he would be better at explaining all of this, but he was the quintessential younger brother that got drugged to a bunch of horse stuff.
I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
It opened up, I think, a lot of avenues for him, like in different things, but he was going to the local horse shows at Wills Park, and he was watching the in-gate system. And the way he tells it to me is sort of like he was watching it and saying, wow, this is really inefficient. And he's like, I think he was like 14, 15 at the time. So God bless it, Roger Brown took a little bit of a chance on him, and he kind of went to him and was like, I'd be interested in learning how to do this because I think I could do it well. And so like he and my dad actually ran a gate like one local weekend, and he rolled into it, and then he got like really good at it. And then it sort of evolved from there because he's always been good at the business management side, so the managing of people, right?
God,
and so I think
gift.
as a gate guy, you kind of have to have that. It's like one of the, like that and the horse show secretary are like the most thankless jobs on the horse show grounds, 100%. I think. And he got quite good at it, and so then it's the story of every Sims in the horse industry. Like all of a sudden, it just like kept evolving, and we kept kind of doing the improv thing where you go like yes and here we go, you know, right, and following the doors as they opened, and then opening our own, and kind of making what you want. But yeah, no, he's done great.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, obviously, guys, this is Alison Sims. She's amazing. And we've all known each other for so long.
Yeah,
different
like
ways, but long time.
And
I know,
sort of like crossing paths and separate. You know, just like since teenage years.
Yeah. It's crazy.
For sure.
I mean, you know, from Leroy days, and then from Julie days, and I mean, just all the different things, and then all just like horse showing together. I think you and I like were closer in age than
I feel like we were were we in the same class at the same school, right? Did we both go to Milton?
Well, I went to Milton. Okay, crazy. I was at Milton for my freshman year. Yeah. So that was I don't know, whatever year that was. And then we got rezoned to Chattahoochee. And it was like this massive fight in my household because I met Frank, I met my husband there. And also all my friends were at Milton, and my mom was like, I don't like that. And so it was closer to our house. Chattahoochee was closer to our house. So I got pulled out of Milton.
You got moved.
Yeah.
And then did you come back, or did you stay at Chattahoochee for the other 3 years?
Yeah. I stayed there. I know.
That's why she is the way she is.
Which is also why I don't remember all 4 years.
Well,
I mean, I'm that way of just sort of like,
no, because I wasn't there. So
the school was so big too. You can like remember somebody being in your class, but you would have never actually ever had a class with them.
100%. And I always I think it's so funny, like talking to kids who like went to like a really small high school, and I'm like, no. Like there's
it's funny for me, like I went to a very small college.
Yeah, you
did. So I remember sitting like with one of my friends' graduation day, and I was sitting at like the edge of all the bleachers before they line you up and send you out. And I looked down and I was like, my entire school is this big next year.
No way.
That is insane.
Like my high school graduating class was just sub under the total school population of where I went to school. And I was like, this is either going to work or it's not.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. That's amazing.
And I loved both, for completely different reasons. Yeah. So it was kind of nice having both
you did
experience.
It the opposite way.
I did.
Like most people.
So
go
like
to
I
the
wasn't
big school.
angry at the small because I always had huge.
Yeah.
It was a chosen thing, and so like I didn't go looking for it. Yeah. But I was like, once I was there, I was like, oh yeah, this is great.
This is good.
And then came back to the world. I don't know.
That's amazing.
It worked out.
Speaking of that, so did that kind of start your riding? I mean, obviously your riding career started as a junior, but did going to college and riding in college kind of spark?
For sure. I think all the components were always there. I think when you look at horses, for me at least, it was always sort of like the pipe dream job, but it wasn't. Everybody tells you it's not a very realistic one.
Everybody.
And I was always like, as the junior rider, I was good. I was very scrappy, but I was kind of always the bridesmaid, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like always, I was really good at second and fifth.
Yeah.
But I still, I did plenty, but I peaked a little bit later, I think, than a lot of people. So I was lucky enough to go to a college that was still very willing to work on you. And so I think I kind of skyrocketed those 4 years. In fact, I remember distinctly, people who had known me my entire junior career watching me as I'd come home for the summers and being like, I didn't even know that was you.
Wow.
It was because they had done a lot of work on me and I wanted a lot of work. I was ready.
Yeah.
I was very hungry.
Yeah. So it was a good fit.
It was a good fit.
Yeah.
So I think too, over those 4 years, I had planned this whole other path. I was being very
had a whole
practical.
Other career.
I came home and I went to grad school for it. I was very, very, very practical. And a couple opportunities kind of got put in my way. And I was like, should I try it?
Yeah.
Like, and I remember going to my coach's senior year, like, is this ridiculous? Like, am I going to go home and everybody's going to be like, why is that chick decided to go pro? You know, because like it happens.
It's a lot of pressure too.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And everybody knew me. And I was like, but they had a preconceived notion of what I was or how I rode. And so I was like, I don't know, is this crazy? But I think life goes really well if you're willing to keep it just a little bit scary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And take opportunities if they seem like, well, let me give it a shot and I'll be safe and I'll still finish grad school and I'll do all these other things and we'll just see where it goes. And a bunch of events like kind of lined up in a very kismet way where the person who had bought my old pony had a private farm. They wanted me to come teach lessons. I come home. Word gets out that I'll freelance ride. Vicky Hayes asks me to come do some rides for her. Lee asks me to come do rides for her. Julie asks me to come do a little bit for her. So I'm freelancing. And then amidst that process, I think I kind of figured out exactly how much I love teaching. So like I have
really good at it.
I have always loved riding, obviously, but I am obsessed with teaching. And I'm obsessed with the learning side. And so I think all of those things kind of came together. And then I got introduced to Leslie. And Leslie and I had never met. We missed each other entirely. We were not aware of each other's existence.
Wow.
And I'm hoping I'm remembering this correctly.
I thought y'all were always friends or something. Like
we didn't know each other at all. We had missed each other because she came up riding at Pound Stables, and then she went off to UGA. I come up through the junior ranks. I go off to Virginia when she comes back and starts her business.
Well, yeah,
I come back
like
and I'm like,
there's like an age, you know, like
just enough. It's exactly perfect for us to have missed one another.
Yeah.
And then a mutual. Leslie was looking for somebody to do some freelance rides, and another trainer. Once again, we'll get to like kind of the mentorship in this area, which is so cool. Was one of Leslie's mentors, and I was like, you need to call Alison Sims. Like, she's back. She's reliable and straight-laced and all the things. So, like, you need to.
That is amazing. And I don't mean, like, I'm sure Leslie's going to watch this.
And you've been with her ever since.
Yeah.
It just took off.
There's a mad look. Yeah. For sure.
And I don't mean this, like, age in terms of, like, Leslie's older, you're older, younger, whatever. I just mean, like, it was enough of a gap. Like, it's kind of like that 4-year, like, you know, like, kids go off to college and it happens in 4 years. So like if you have a 4-year gap where it's like either you're in college or you're in
and I was
school
freelancing for several people. Like I said, I was in the middle of grad school. So I was actually going through this incredible triangle. Like once again, you got to be hungry. Like you got to want this. I was living in Buckhead. Love it. I was going to school in Gainesville. And then I was traveling to Alpharetta.
You lived in Buckhead?
Ride. I lived in Buckhead.
I just like, don't see that, but like we all do.
I
like,
just moved. Okay, like not to be that guy. I just moved OTP like a year and a half ago.
What?
Yeah, I did know that.
I was hitting the commute like for the last however many 15 years.
Oh my God.
Like
yeah. I remember
know that.
I just left Brookhaven and it was like a thing.
Does your mom live in Brookhaven?
No, everybody lives in Alpharetta. I'm now on like an accidental family compound.
Oh my God. I love it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Which our family has a lot of fun joking about. But
yeah. I think that's so great. And I mean, it's crazy because like, you know, I feel like I love listening to your story because especially from like your perspective and hearing it from you and like, cause it's like, you know, it's so cool to like see it from my eyes and then hear it from you. And then also like the input that you were getting from other people.
It was a very organic process and I had a lot of luck in who I was surrounding it was also purposeful, right? But I was surrounding myself with some very, very good mentors, you know, and we're very fortunate in this area. It's a very competitive area. Like there's a lot of trainers in a close radius that do similar things. But what I've always appreciated about this is there have been several trainers, you know, older, same age, younger, it doesn't really matter, that are very happy to collaborate, bounce ideas. You can ask questions. You can kind of go, I'm going through this like really specific professional situation. Have you ever been through anything like this? We have a lot of mentorship capability that I don't know if everybody tries to access. But that was something that was essential for me. And I had a big group of people that were kind of rooting for me, I think, in a way. Well, I don't know, like, they were just being who they were. It wasn't like, Alison's going to go off and do X, Y, Z. It was just sort of like, you know, between Vicky giving opportunity, Julie giving opportunity, Roger giving opportunity,
Yeah.
Lee,
Yeah.
you know, Janet Salem and Kat DeMoss were always up for a phone call.
Yeah.
Like, these people were always willing
Yeah.
to jump in.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And
And we
that's
talk a lot about
huge.
community in adult amateur world, like how to be an adult amateur and have a job and have, you know, your horses and, you know, have them in training and still get to horse show, and supporting each other is so huge. Like, I was like, I hope they don't think I'm weird. Like, I come to Seekers and I like watch her lessons, but like, it's just
great.
big community, and like wanting to support, you know, somebody else that's your friend in the community. And I think that's kind of what you're speaking to, just in like a trainer aspect.
Yeah, and it should be like that. Like, yes, there's a competitive side because it is a business and we're all running a business, but at the same time, like, we have clients, and my dedication is to my clients 100%, but my colleagues and I are probably going to have to work together for the next 20 years
100%,
or side by side. So
yeah.
I'm going to be in these situations where, like, you need to try to create bridges, not burn them.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
You know, because we also work with each other to, like, find horses for our clients, all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
We're going to be
absolutely.
collaborating on committees or with GHJA or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
okay, so I have to now get into the nitty gritty of the episode because I'm so excited to talk about it. Ollie is now with you.
Yes.
So it's been, as this one
so
knows,
cool.
it's been like such a journey, and it's been so much fun. And like I've taken my first lesson with you.
Yeah.
And it was like,
I was like, she explains like a lot. Like, she's so good at breaking it down so you get it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've never seen anyone teach like that in
It's
my life.
amazing.
It's so
That's
cool.
very kind. Thank
Yeah.
you.
It was so cool to watch.
yeah, because I definitely feel like I have educated in my field with photography and marketing and all the things, and like there's a way of teaching that, like, especially everybody's different, you know, like I am a very like specific type of learner, and I feel like you just were speaking my language, and we weren't doing anything that was like, you know, super advanced or like it was like very basic, and I was like, oh my God, like it was like I was learning it again for the first time.
The power is in the fundamentals.
Yeah. And I was like, everything that you were saying, and I was like, this is phenomenal. Like, she's such a good, like, I understand like what she's saying, and I can really visualize like how, and like, I'm a very visual learner.
Me too.
So like you speaking about it, I could like visualize and then actually do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was fortunate to have trainers growing up, like between Julie and then the people I worked with in college, that were very good at kind of identifying your learning style and running with it.
Yeah.
And so I think also, like, the side gig, what ended up being the side gig was the occupational therapy side.
Yeah.
And so, you know, as an occupational therapist, it's very hard not to utilize that lens sometimes, both from a positional standpoint, because I'm kind of like a positional education freak.
Yeah.
But also as a meeting students where they're at, right? And we talk a lot about that in a lot of different ways, but understanding learning type's important. And I'm a chatty person, so I like say to my clients all the time, I'm like, I can explain this 60 ways. I can draw circles in the dirt. I can show you myself. I can get on the horse and show you what I'm wanting you to do, if that's helpful, so that you can feel it. You know, all kinds of things. There's so many tools that we can use as teachers that will help the student grasp everything. And I think what I've learned over time too as a professional is, in the beginning, I would get like so zoomed in and excited that I would like tell you everything you needed to know, and that would be like so overwhelming. For the students. Learn how to edit that a little bit, but also how to utilize exercises they're going to show you. Like if you have like a more kinesthetic learner, you know, this is going to show you a little, or let you feel it, because you can't, like, you can and you can't teach feel.
No,
right?
Right.
You can and you can't. You can evolve feel. You can't like spark it. But at the same time, maybe I can show you with an extra, if you are a kinesthetic learner, maybe I can get that glimmer of like,
oh, the light bulb goes off.
You know?
And I feel like I'm talking so much, so I'm so sorry, because I have so many questions. But like, it's so interesting, and we've talked about this before too, riding with Lee, who, like, you know, I don't even know if we've talked about it on the pod, but like, in general, like, she was in her younger, like, teaching years, like, it was not a lot of like finesse. Like, it wasn't like a lot of like technical, like, At least from what I remember.
Yeah.
Because I remember her a lot like post college. So that's like what really sticks out in my mind. And she had already gotten sick and things were like very different. So my remembrance of like me riding with her, pre-college, it was like, it was much more technical than it was post, but like, it wasn't really about you. It was so much more about the horse. Like,
that's what I was going to say.
So much more about the horse.
I think as professionals, we all have different areas of nuance that we lean into. Right. And so Lee was very, very horse driven.
Yeah.
Right. So like I would come in, my experience with her was like catch riding ponies for her, essentially. Maybe developing a skill, maybe helping them overcome an anxiety, because she had a lot of like rescue types.
Yeah.
But she would get really technical about anything that it could improve their experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like, she wouldn't necessarily like get into your position about it. Right. So versus me, who's going to look at it, I think a little bit more wide angle lens and a little more holistically.
Yes.
But like, I think we all grew up with trainers that were very that way, which I think is how you have to start.
Yeah.
Like Julie was always amazing at teaching you to ride the horse you were on that day.
Yeah.
Not the horse that you wanted, but the horse that you were on that day.
Yeah.
And so I think while I would even kind of describe myself as not a young kid that had a ton of feel, like I was good, but I was like, I wasn't always like the best listener when I was little.
Yeah.
And Julie, I think, helped really develop that skill of like, stop, process.
Yeah.
What is he telling you?
Right.
Like, that's fair.
Yeah.
Remember, he's a different kind of communicator than you are.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that makes sense. And so as I matured and got more ready for that conversation, like I really carried that on.
I love that.
If that makes sense. And I feel like Lee was I feel like there were a lot of trainers of that generation that were
I think that's just like the way it was.
And I think there's some trainers, like, I think there's so many people that do everything so well, but it's the focus has shifted just an ounce, and so like, or at least the conversation has changed about it.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to remember that, like, horsemanship side of it, that's really the origin story.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's interesting, because now I feel like the horsemanship has kind of like went out a little bit. And then like, it's more about sometimes
it's altered. And I think sometimes our view on certain things has changed, because as an industry, remember too, like we're also learning a whole bunch of stuff.
Yes.
I think it's infinitely more complicated and nuanced in some ways, because our understanding of certain medical features is very different. The wide varieties of treatments we have to treat these things is very different.
The world has
changed. The structure of the horse show itself has changed. The motivations for different qualifications has changed. So it takes, on the trainer, I think there's a very large ethical responsibility of like, okay, who do I want to be? What do I want to push in this industry? What do I want to stand for?
Yeah, like,
and you have to be kind of willing to stick to those mantras sometimes, even if the world's not pushing you in that direction. But I think we have a lot of people that do it a lot better than they get credit for, if that makes sense.
100%. All right, guys, quick break from the podcast to tell you about a brand that I actually discovered when I was redoing my barn, Saratoga Stalls. Saratoga Stalls is actually manufactured right in Chattanooga. And the thing that I love about them so much is that they are designed by equestrians for equestrians to make sure that you and your horse are as safe as humanly possible. And because I know that my boys are a little bit crazy sometimes, they're also very, very durable. So all of the steel that is made for these stalls is cold rolled steel. And that means that they're not going to break anytime soon. So they have a 30-year rust-free warranty, and all the hardware on them, all moving hardware, has a lifetime warranty. Like I said, they are safe. They are designed by equestrians and for you and your horse's safety.
My question for you is, as a trainer that has juniors and adults, and like, you are obviously so passionate about your teaching, and that's very evident in your lessons. What is the difference? Like, you don't have to say who you like more, even though it's adults. I'm just kidding. 100%. I have no idea. But like, what is the difference in kind of that you see between your adults and obviously your kids?
There's a lot, and I could get into so many different things because it's similar but different, obviously. Temporal pressure is different. So adults, that 18-year-old cliff is gone. Right? So sometimes with adults, like, you get people that are coming back into the sport. You have people that stayed in the sport the whole time. But either way, the timing pressure is just different.
Yeah.
And like I've had students in the past that were like, okay, I have to, I'm late to the game. So I gotta. And then I kept telling them like, I was like, you're going to age out and you're going to think the world's over. And a month later, all of a sudden you're going to breathe again.
Yeah. It's going to be so nice.
It's going to be so nice. And I even had one recently that was like, yeah, that happened.
It's like,
right. So it's a little different. Now, the anxieties are different. Right?
She immediately goes for the buzzword, anxiety.
The anxieties are different, and the anxieties are valid,
Yeah.
but they're different.
Yeah.
With either the junior riders or the amateur riders, my job as a trainer is to watch where the joy and the ambition accidentally cross over into obsession. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm looking at somebody who goes, okay, I'm going to start a young horse. I want to qualify for this junior medal. I want to do whatever. And they start from this excited, wide-eyed, whatever. And then they start going through the slog, like whatever that is.
Yeah.
Because we all know with horses, it's a roller coaster.
Always.
Right? And so
Yeah.
it's going to change up a little bit. Either it's not qualifying the way you thought, or your horse had an injury, or you had an injury, or everything we thought this baby horse was going to be, he's telling us he really wants that other job. Like,
Yeah.
whatever it is, we get to the point where everybody gets so zoomed in, it becomes obsessive instead of constructive. And that's the point where I have to kind of go like, time out. Remember, once upon a time, you were a kid who got into this because you were obsessed with ponies. Mm-hmm. Our motivation has to remain in a healthy space.
Yeah.
Instead of it being, I'm so sorry I suck so bad in my lesson today. Like, then if you didn't, like, it's not, I'm so sorry, like, I just can't find anything off the left lead. I'm so sorry, I'm just letting him down. I feel like I'm letting him down,
Yeah.
right? That happens a lot. Or you guys have all put so
Literally,
much
yes.
into this and I haven't still qualified for that class. And you kind of look at them and you're like, ooh, okay, it's time for the context conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, remember, like, this is hard, like, in terms of qualification. If it was, it's like, to quote A League of Their Own, if it wasn't hard, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to be. And sometimes you're going to win and sometimes you're going to lose. And you may not make this goal. But that doesn't decrease your worth. And it
Yeah.
doesn't decrease what you can bring to the sport and what the sport can bring to you.
Yeah.
That's a very hard message to get across. And I find it both in the amateurs and the juniors. I just find that the nature of the pressure is different.
Yeah.
The juniors are worried about, my junior career is going to be over and I'm never going to get to do this again, especially if they get into the equitation because they don't think that there's as much opportunity on the backside, and that is true and untrue.
Yeah.
Right? And they can't see the wide world of it yet.
Yeah.
And what possibilities are out there for them, you know, versus the amateurs are more taking it on as like this existential part of their existence. I mean, the juniors are too.
Yeah.
But it's more about like, I'm letting everybody else down.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
Yeah.
like, whoa. And all of this is really harsh because not every amateur is like that,
No,
right?
No,
But,
but a lot of them are.
but there's a
I
lot
mean,
of, and you understand why, because like
Yeah.
maybe you decided to go get the young horse and you feel so much like almost parental responsibility to pick all the right things and advocate all the right ways and make all the right choices.
Yes.
And I would argue back, because I'm not a big believer in like what I call big T truth. Like
Yeah.
it is this or it is that. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
shades of gray lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, well, listen, we may come back to some of these decisions and go, we need to pick a different route, or he's telling us something, but it becomes like in your situation, it becomes all about like, are we being a good enough listener? Not are we doing everything perfectly?
Yeah.
Are we being a horseman because we are choosing to listen to the animal where he is? Am I choosing to listen to myself and self-actualize where I am?
Yeah.
You know, so the same thing, like if you go to the horse show every single week and you have to like throw back 3 glasses of wine just to get to the ring, like maybe we're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe
Yeah.
this isn't sparking joy the way that it should.
right,
There's
yeah.
other ways to enjoy the sport
Yeah.
that doesn't make you feel like this.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That is like just so, I mean, I felt like you just were speaking to.
I get like that. Like Julie's like, why do you horse show if you're always like
Yeah.
a stress ball? And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know. She's like,
And
why are you like this? I'm like, I don't know.
And sometimes there's that adrenaline, like you hit that one trip and it's like, God,
Yeah.
that was worth the last
Yeah,
3
but
months.
then she comes out of the
But-
ring and she's like, "Oh my God, it's the best day of my life. I love everyone."
But how do you? What would you say to someone like me who like does that?
That's a loaded question. And it depends. And I think it depends on what's motivating the anxiety. So a big thing that we talk about with our riders is self-actualization. And it's a very mature concept, especially for our junior riders, but they can do it. They're good kids, right? But you have to coach the amateurs to it too. I coach it myself to it all the time. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, you have to be aware of what are my motivations for being here? What's 100%. Sparking the joy? What's sparking the anxiety? Yeah. What is it that the horse show is doing it? Or is it the way I prepare for the horse show? Or is it how I'm contextualizing the horse show? Is it the responsibility I feel to the horse? There's a lot of loaded pieces. And we don't have to psychoanalyze every aspect, but I think you kind of have to meet yourself where you are and kind of go, okay, every time
be honest with yourself.
Yeah, you have to be. And then you have to be open with your trainer too. And like I said, we're not psychotherapists. I'm not a mental health professional.
You guys are though.
But we fulfill that role a little bit on occasion. And so I just need to know where you are. So if you're walking in the ring and you're like, all right, Miss Allison, I think I'm going to vom. You're like, okay, I need to know this. Right? Yeah. And you're still going to ride because this is the push point that you need to play with. Or we are now in an not constructive place for a horse or rider. Let's make a different call today. But if you
look over at me and I'm about to go in the ring and I'm pale and I'm trembling, you're all right, maybe it's time to get off.
Or I tend to deflect with a joke. See if I can shake you out of your head a little bit. And just once again, provide context, contextualize the situation of remember, this is one trip. Yeah. This is the blue red warm-up. This is the place to throw it out there and see what we have today. Yeah. And then you pick one thing. Yeah. And we see if we can't go fix it. And then we pick the next thing. And we see if we can't go fix it. And if you can't enjoy the process, then we're going to have the long-term goal conversation. Yeah. Right? If you don't get that adrenaline high because, gosh, for the first time today, I did not miss the long canter.
Yeah. Right.
If that doesn't happen for you, then let's talk about a different way to enjoy horses. It's also okay. So that there's still the joy in the sport and you still appreciate the animals for the right reasons and everything that they're doing. Because they don't have the same context all the time. I have horses that love their jobs, but I also have horses that don't understand why this day was such a big deal.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah. They don't get it.
Why am I here? Okay.
Yeah. So we just have to call a spade and meet everybody where they are and be a little bit more self-actualized about it. And so in our program, we talk a lot about that. And we also talk about self-advocacy. Yeah. Of I don't know why today, but I'm on my ass. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And I feel it's funny because coming into your program and it's been so much fun. And it's funny because I feel before I came to y'all, I mean, when I bought Ollie, we've talked a lot about this on the pod, I bought him knowing I wanted very heavy professional influence. I knew that. Yeah. I had my thoroughbred who I thought I could do on my own. He's still 12 years old and green on some days, broke on some days, whatever. So I wanted to do all the things that I, fix the things that I made mistakes on. And I was relying on, I don't want to say relying, but I knew that I really wanted to create experiences for him that were going to be super positive. Yeah. And that was really, really important to me. So I was look, if I don't even ride him for, however long, that's fine. Whatever the professional because and I think sometimes that's been somewhat of a crutch and then somewhat of because I'm oh well you guys just do it I'm fine I'm fine, but it's anxiety really, you know what I mean? So it's Heather the other day, she was okay, well let's do a lesson and you can jump him around a little bit, do over little stuff and and he had never jumped around at your house before and I was yeah, okay. We're gonna do that.
But once again, that would be the place for self-advocacy. No. I'm totally willing to do it, but I'm gonna have some anxiety.
I didn't say anything about it. I was 100%. I was I'm the new girl. I'm just gonna do whatever you tell me to do. I'm not gonna.
She literally calls me, and she's why can't they jump him? And I'm oh
and
my God.
He was perfect. He was fine.
He's a very good boy.
He didn't give a shit about anything.
Well, and if we were worried about that,
it
would never been proposed that way.
Heather never even thought twice about it, but I was yeah, for sure.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
We have to remember that sometimes too, like the power that you carry as a coach, because like everybody like, yes, ma'am, whatever you want.
Yes, whatever you say.
Yes, right. And you're just like I don't think I'm that scary, but I must be that scary.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and then you're like, no, it's just sort of the power. Like it's the relationship dynamic of like coach and student. You want to like impress, coach, and
yes, 100. You want to be good, and you want to. I'm 37.
You want to be all the things.
Yeah, I'm 37 years old, and I'm still like, yes, whatever you say, I'll do it.
Yeah,
you know, it's just so funny. I feel like. Yeah. I don't know if all sports are like that or...
Sure. I think, like, from our perspective, though, too, that's where we come back and we advocate balance. It's like, remember, it's okay to advocate and just know sometimes we are going to push you.
Yeah.
Because you do have to learn how to ride in that scary space.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So, like, I think that it becomes... And that's a really tricky place for us.
Yeah.
But it becomes our job to kind of go, okay, today's a push day.
Yeah.
Or today's let's make the right choices for horse and rider and revisit tomorrow, you know?
Yeah.
Just kind of depends, and it's all judgment calls.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's fantastic.
I want to ask a question about adults. So we both have green horses, and we both have, or maid-ish.
Yours is
okay.
Just take away the maid, seasoned. You know,
he is much more
seasoned.
Yeah,
I feel
he's well seasoned.
Yeah, he's very well seasoned.
Yeah,
and I think that part of my issue with horse showing and like where a lot of my anxiety comes from is because he is proven. Mm-hmm. He's very seasoned. He has been won on. What would you say to your adults who have like a really nice horse and that they've, I've worked really hard. I finally got him, but now I'm scared to show him because it's like I'm letting him down. Like he's won all over with these girls.
Has he won every time any rider's ever been on him anywhere?
I mean, no. But it doesn't matter. Like I should, and so the first time I went to show him, I was like...
The problem is like how you're contextualizing the conversation. I owe it. Like you owe it to your horse to give it your best effort to set him up for safety, to put yourself in the right divisions with a trainer that you trust. Those are your jobs. Mm-hmm. Your job is not to be perfect all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Now, your job is to be at a level that when you make those mistakes, you're not making more withdrawals from the horse's bank than deposits.
Yeah.
Or your job is then to go, I just made a couple of withdrawals. How am I going to get those deposits back in the system? Is it body work? Is it pro rides? Is it stepping down for the weekend?
Yeah.
That's your job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? And that's your job to have a trainer who's going to advise you well on those things.
Yeah.
So to me, once again, it's a context question, because like your horse doesn't understand the importance. He's not sitting there with a tally mark in his stall per se. Now, if you keep him, if you're having an anxiety point and like maybe it's affecting him to the point that he's stopping or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And then you continue to make that repetitive decision and not set him up for success. Those are the parts that you can then sit there and have a little bit more self-reflection. But until that moment, like me as your person would be, and you guys have heard me have this conversation, and here's my unpopular opinion for today. Like I even corrected you a little bit on the maid thing. Right?
Yeah.
It's like every horse has something that they're very good at. It's just like humans. We all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. And you can have a really, really well-seasoned horse. I mean, I've had a couple horses in program that I'm like, no, really, he like never puts a foot out of line. Right? But they still come with their own complications. Just because he doesn't put a foot out of line doesn't mean he doesn't have like a hellacious right bulge or this or that. And they come at different difficulty levels and they come with different issues, right? So even like the nicest, most experienced horse in my barn, for certain riders might be like driving a Ferrari instead of a Honda Accord.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You have a lot of appreciation for that Honda Accord and it's a lot more straightforward and it's a lot more user friendly.
Yeah.
And then you get into this stick shift that is made and has all this experience, but like you stall out constantly.
Yeah.
And then you go, it's a me problem. And it's like, but nobody ever taught you how to drive stick.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's
right?
so smart.
So you're putting pressure on yourself that's completely unfair and not based on the context at hand. It's based on what you think the situation's supposed to be.
Yeah, the situation.
And so that's where you need somebody like me. Like, and we come in, we joke all the time. Like, I'm a big believer in what I call the love sandwich, where you come in with like, okay, this was great. Here's the constructive criticism, and then you compliment when the rider makes the right effort. To fix the meat of the sandwich, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I think I have to advocate, too, that my riders also love sandwich themselves a little bit, but that you provide that context of, like, these things are going well. yeah, we got to fix this. But,
Yeah.
know, I think you need to love sandwich yourself a little bit more instead of taking all out and like making it a whole nother conversation. Because you also have to set, this is where goal setting, I think, too, can be very, I'm like jumping all around.
No.
But like, this is where I think goal setting can be very important too, is because sometimes when your brain gets like, and I can be this way because I get so excitable or like so into something or like I love the teaching or the theory, and I can go so zoomed in so fast, and then I can't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
Right? I think too, as a rider, you have to kind of go, okay, short-term goal, long-term goal. Long-term goal is that I can walk into the arena without feeling X level of anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or maybe I'm nervous, but I'm not hyperventilating, or give it whatever.
Yeah.
Or I can throw down 7 out of 8 consistent jumps. Like, you can come up with what these units of measurement are. And this is really that OT goal setting helps, right?
Yeah.
But you also have to come up with short-term goals to meet the long-term goal. And I think if you can break it up and kind of say, okay, because if you put so much pressure on yourself that it's like, I have to jump 7 out of 8 perfect jumps without any anxiety. Yeah. That's not realistic goal setting.
Yeah. That's what
So we have to go, okay,
Yeah.
let's focus on the things that you can control. Can you control, like, counting your strides? Can you control keeping the same canter rhythm? Can you control establishing an appropriate pace to fence 1? Not fence 7 through 8, or like 2 through 8.
Yeah.
Fence 1.
Yeah.
You know, so you set realistic short-term goals, and it doesn't have to be competition goals. Like I tell my students all the time, maybe you want to focus on getting better at this exercise at home. Maybe you want to do, and we set short-term goals that lead to the long-term goal, competition or otherwise. And we have regular goals meetings for like this reason.
Yeah.
You know, so that then when you get in that zone and you're here, I can go, remember, your only job is to establish pace to 1.
Yeah. Yeah. That's me.
And then you come out and we talk about what the next thing is.
Yeah.
Okay, you're going to establish pace to 1, and then you're going to keep your canter consistent.
Yeah.
You know, or you're going to stay straight for the change or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And we build, because all of this is practice. All of this is reps, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
You have to practice the mentality and the physicality, both.
Yeah.
And have
mentality,
fun, and
maybe
like,
more.
Have fun with the little goals. I think that's what I'm bad at, is like the little goals.
The short-term goal setting.
I'm just like, nice horse, got to make it around. Everybody wins.
You know,
I gotta like
I mean this like in no disrespect. Like, I don't mean this any sort of disrespect at all. But like, it's so funny because, you know, you always say to me, you're like, oh, I never know when you're nervous. You like have nerves to steal, whatever. I feel the same for you. Like, I watch you go around and it's like, you're like sitting here telling us all this stuff.
I'm the devil on the inside though.
No, and like, then you throw down these, like, you're jumping, you're doing all the high options and you're like throwing out this like beautiful trip and you like win. And I'm like,
but then are you the type of rider that would come out of that trip and be like, God, I got close to 6? I mean, or I lost count in the middle of that line and it worked out, but like
I am like the literal devil going in. Like, I mean, not to my trainers or anything, but like,
just
you know,
to me,
just to people that come up to me. I'm like, no. And I don't feel like I used to be like that before I had a horse that's like been there, done that. It's like the pressure was just like not.
So you feel more pressure with the seasoned ones than the green beans.
Yeah. Like, I can't wait to go to horse show and jump around 2 foot on my green horse.
Because you don't feel the same amount of pressure.
It's totally fine. I'm good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's normal. Like, is that
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think it depends. I think everybody's got their thing, right? And so you have to figure out what that interim is of practicing in a zone of discomfort that's not too much of it.
Yeah.
So maybe you take that seasoned horse and instead of going straight for that 3 foot derby, you go for the 2.6 low adults.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying earlier. Is like,
you just set and it depends rider to rider, right? And so, and that's where that can be kind of the tough part of our job. I joke around with my students, and I think I've said this phrase to you guys. Like, occasionally I have to assume the role of Alison Courtney, killer of dreams, right? Where it's just like, okay, all of these goals are very realistic, but we're in that going back to my original, you're in the obsession zone.
Yeah.
So we have to scale back and get it about doing the thing well.
Yeah.
Instead of doing the thing the way I thought I was supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Because the second one is just a formula for disaster.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So whether it ends up disastrous or not, even if you have the best trip of your life, you're not going to feel good about it.
It's just mentally unhealthy. Yeah.
You're not going to, you're going to have a trip that like the rest of us are like, we don't even need the sandwich because girl, that was just bread. Like that was like amazing. And you're just like, But once again, you'll be like, well, I lost count on the outside
fine.
line. My change was late.
I'm like,
you know, and you're like,
I do,
okay, no. That's when it's time for Alison Courtney, Killer of Dreams, of like, we now have to not practice the physical side. Physical side's fine. You know, the feel, everything's going the way we want it. We have to set the mentality.
That's me.
Goal setting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I always hear her talk about these things, and I'm like, what are we watching the same thing? Like, because like no. I'm watching you go around.
It's just not as smooth as it could be, and I know that the people that used to own him could make it look effortless, and I don't.
Shout out to the people who used to own them, because they are both exceptional riders.
Yes.
I know.
Exceptional.
It's hard to follow that.
But listen to me. And they would say it too. Girls, you can like text me. I got it. You got my number.
Yeah.
Like, their run on him was not perfect.
Yeah.
It was not perfect. They had to work for certain things, and not because anybody was doing anything wrong, but because that's the process.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They had great days where they slayed, and they had bad days.
Yeah.
You know? So, but like, I have this conversation a lot, especially with my junior riders, right? Because they inevitably come to me and they're like, God, I look at so-and-so, and she just, like, every time she walks out, she crushes. And it's always, and they talk to me like with this sense of like, it's always been this way for her. And what does she have that I don't?
Yeah.
And you kind of look at them and you're like, she spent 3 years crying. Like,
yeah.
but they don't have that context. They didn't see that. Right. They came in after that, whoever the idol is, who worked for it and slogged through and got to the other side for now. Like, it's a roller coaster, this sport, right? And they have earned the spot that they're sitting in. I'm like, girl, you're about to do it too. But like, you have such this like rose-colored glasses version of like their entire career.
Yeah.
You know, like, shout out to the Seekers girls. People used to say about the Seekers girls all the time. And I'm like, Molly like slogged for like 4 years, you know, until she got to do Big X. But you only look at the end.
Well,
Mary Grace had tough ponies, like God bless Leroy Brown, but like she won or she was in the dirt.
Yeah.
You know, like there was just years of, and they had good horses, you know, but they had horses you had to work.
Yeah.
Right. And so some more, some less, you know, it kind of depends. But like everybody's like, oh, their whole career has been perfection from the start. And you're like, thanks. But like, that's also not true. Like they had to hustle.
Yeah.
You know, for what they did. And so like you have to provide that context to students all the time. So like you're looking at the previous owners going, everything was perfect and pearly. And like those girls slogged to get that horse developed.
Yeah.
You know, and they did great work. Julie did great work.
Yeah.
You know, that horse is a killer horse.
I know.
But like he had a learning curve too.
Yeah.
You know, and he's found his happy zone.
Yeah.
You know, so like there's more context than you give it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's our job a little bit, because if you live too much in the details, that gets complicated too. But at the same time, I think context is important.
No. And I, you know, when you have clients that, you know, and I feel like it's such like a business model as well, like before, like to preface this question, like when you have clients that are like, because we talk about this all the time too, like our second horse, like we didn't spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, I think both of ours were like 10 grand and they were like 30 days under saddle, you know, like, you know, like it was like you were buying a foal essentially. But you know, when you have clients that are like, hey, you know, and maybe you don't deal with clients that have smaller budgets, totally up to, you know, whatever the business model you have is, you know, if you're like, hey, okay, well, like what's a real, like realistically, you have a client that has a smaller end budget. Maybe the smaller end budget is 50, maybe the smaller end budget is 75, like whatever the smaller end budget is for your business. Like how, you know, I guess you're so good at communication, and I can probably play out in my mind of how you're going to answer this question. But like, you know, how do you approach that? You know, like, especially being an adult amateur, you're like, look, I'm working, I don't have like a trust fund, you know, I'm working my tail off to like afford this. But I want to do it.
Yeah. I think it's a common misconception that trainers automatically don't understand the inaccessibility of this sport.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true.
I think that trainers probably understand it almost better than anybody else, because there's 90% of us, there's a reason we're trainers.
Yeah.
This is our way of affording the sport.
Right.
In some ways. I think the most important thing is that the goal setting matches what's happening. So if you come to me and you say, I want to spend 10 grand on something that's 30 days under saddle, I'm going to ride 2 days a week and I don't want pro rides. I want to be jumping 1.20 meters by the end of the year. Alison Courtney, Killer of Dreams, is going to don her hat and explain why that's not realistic. Now, I think that there are so many avenues in this sport to enjoy it well and do it well. It's my job to show you that multiple paths have value, right? So, like, I've had students of all budget levels in the time that I've been doing this. You know, we've had mega budgets, we've had little budgets, you know, and we've had this conversation again. And once again, here's Alison's unpopular opinion, but like, I don't think. While, yes, you might have a competitive advantage because a certain horse's baseline scoring capability is going to be different, like especially in the hunters and the equitation, like I don't subscribe to the knowledge that like it's therefore easier and just straightforward and perfect. Like everything comes with its challenges. I think you have to decide the path of challenges you're okay with participating in. Does that make sense? So if you look at me and you're like, listen, I just want to ride. My real goal is that I want to make this 3-foot adult eq final, you know? Okay, here's probably here's the range of things we can do to make that goal accessible. You can go door A, door B, door C, door D. Which way would you like to spend your money? To achieve that goal. Right. And if you go, yeah, girl, none of that's possible. Or you go, my budget's smaller, I'm willing to take this risk in order for this to maybe be possible. As long as we have self-actualized and contextualized it correctly, that might be the right path. And that takes us having those goal meetings. That's why we do them, like at our farm, of just saying, this is what this looks like. You know, and I think that's true of any goal. You know, we have a lot of juniors that go, I want the whole big eq thing. And I love big eq, you know, but it's, you know, for lack of a better phrasing, it's a tricky mistress. You know, so like, I think you have to kind of go into that eyes open of what that means, because it also depends on the kinds of things you do. Like, I just want to jump 3 foot proficiently. Was that on a hunter, a jumper, and a course, because those pricings are going to change a little bit. I'm okay developing. I have no timeline in mind. Great. A green horse may, and I'm open to however much professional input makes sense. Okay. A green horse could be for you. If you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it and it's going to look exactly like this. A green horse is not for you. Right. No. Because they're going to change that up. A regular horse is going to change that up. Right. A seasoned made, however you want to phrase it, horse is going to change that narrative. So, I think the biggest, like circling all the way back around, I think that the goal setting has to match the budget. You know, and like segueing a little bit, it's the same thing for horse shows. Like if you go, I want a rated, I want a local, like there's a lot of great ways to do this. It's about setting in a way that maximizes what you do have. I tell my clients all the time, like, going into debt over horses is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. So like, we're happy to meet you where you are. We're just going to provide you with realistic goal setting while we're there.
That's fantastic. I love that. Now, dealing with like young horses and adult amateurs, like us.
I'm not as crazy as you.
Okay. I don't know. I would highly debate that. But, you know, I think like the experiences that I have been going through recently is kind of like, okay, like I can supplement, like meaning like supplement, like I can hack him and I can like keep him fit, and like, yes, I can like jump him around and stuff, but like I want to support whatever you guys are doing, like, and you just kind of like guide me and like how to do that. Like, you know, I guess, are most adult amateurs like that if they have a young horse and they're developing, or is it kind of like, is that what you recommend? Or
yes, I mean, that mentality is definitely a great mentality, because then you can come in and go, okay, well then let's take lessons, and like, you know, like you came in and we talked about how I want you to construct these downward transitions, how I want you to utilize your position, like all these little points. I mean, once again, I'm a shades of gray lady, so like everybody's different. Everybody's different. You kind of, once again, from our perspective, you have to meet everybody where they are.
For sure.
And then combine that with where their horse is. And what gives their horse anxiety, what keeps their horse calm, like what makes them feel good. You know, the kind of supportive ride style they do or do not need. Like, there's a lot of factors at play. So I don't think that there's like an overarching answer there. Which is a little frustrating.
No.
I think just like being very open-minded when it comes to green babies. Like, you just have to be so open-minded that like, we don't know what truth he's gonna live. You know,
that's what I said earlier.
He may come here and go like, thanks, that's great, I'll do it, don't have a lot of interest. So like, can I go flat over here?
Yeah.
You know, or can I be a trail horse? Or no, I want to be a jumper. And you thought you bought a hunter. Like, as long as you're open-minded to listen to the horse where he's at in a given moment, then I think you're good. If you have too much of a preconceived notion about what they're supposed to be, that's where you run into these roadblocks.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I definitely agree with that.
That's what I said earlier. I was like, I don't really care what Ivan becomes. I just like him. Like, I chose him. And, of course, I want him to go to a horse show and jump around and swap his leads. But, like, his personality, his, like, I bought his brain.
Yeah.
And whatever that means. Like,
it's
if
like
he
the best thing to buy.
my husband's horse.
Yeah.
And he gets to ride, or my son's horse, or whatever gets to, like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Right. That's fine. Like, it is what it is, and that's why I have chocolate. Because that's smart. That's for me.
Very smart.
And I know that that's for me, and Ivan is for whatever he wants to become. But I've never done the young horse thing, and I want to try it.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly great. Like, as long as you're open-minded, as long as you're willing to seek professional help, and as long as you're with a professional you're willing to listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think that those are like, and it's just like any teacher, right? If like you're like, I always like to hire, not even like in the riding world, but like in general, my life, I hire professionals that, like, if for some reason I was completely inaccessible, I would just trust them to, like, make a call.
100%.
Like, those are my people, right? And if I don't feel like that, then it's probably not the right long-term relationship.
No, I totally agree.
Right? So you kind of want to end up with somebody like that. It's just like, listen, their gut is going to be, they're going to logic it the way I'd want. And if it's not that, then it's okay. Like, it's just not the right match.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think as long as you put yourself in that position of, like, no, her instinct, his instinct's going to be kind of what I would do.
Yeah. And I mean, I think like trainer, especially, I mean, I can only speak to an adult. I mean, amateur, I didn't have like a real like junior career, but like, you know, I think as an adult amateur, you know, I feel like we're already so emotional anyway, like having somebody that's like, you know, a part of your team and a part of like you feel is like really has your benefit and really has like your back is just so crucial.
Yeah.
So crucial.
No, I agree.
But, okay, so last question of the episode.
Okay.
All right, so if you could bring back one horse to ride,
God.
what should it be?
Like from my career?
From your career.
Oh, God. That's going to be hard because I'm going to tie it in a couple ways.
That's okay. You can tie it.
I would say it's going to be a tie. You guys will probably understand that. So, like, Chinook's only been gone a year, so like there's a different level of nostalgia. And you hate to say it this way, but like I got my time with Chinook.
Yeah.
You know, and like he and I lived out our story. Like we did it, right? We ended it the way like nobody wants to end it. It was awful, but at the same time, like we got the end of our chapter.
Yeah.
I got to do for him what I wanted to do for several others. Try not to cry. I got to take care of him in the end and pay it not forward but back. Right? It's like, thank you for everything you've done for so many generations. I'll do whatever you want. There were horses I didn't get to do that for, and so I think it would kind of circle back to that. It's interesting because like there's horses that I'm like, I wonder what I would think about them now.
I thought about that too. Right?
So, but like in true like heart horse terms, because I have several that I'm like, oh, I would do this for this and this for that. You got to bring Jackie Brown back. Everybody knows, like Jackie Brown's the jam. So that was like my pony jumper growing up, and you know, once again, a horse that just didn't fit a box. You know, and luckily Julie was willing to meet her where she was.
Yeah, she's really, really good at that.
And turned into just this killer like meter jumper pony. And I've never had more fun in my life. I've never enjoyed the sport the way I enjoyed the sport on Jackie Brown.
That's amazing.
You know, and that's during my obnoxious teenager phase, and like years, you know, like as much as anybody has one. And so like, if you can rock it and feel that good on a horse during those years, like it means something.
You're doing good.
So you got to bring Jackie Brown back. And then there was a horse I rode in college named Hat Trick. It came from Luis Sirio, and he was a stunner. Like just a stunner, and he hated everybody. Correction, he loved me and like one other girl who rode the snot out of him.
Though.
And then that doesn't mean, but getting back to your point, and he's why I feel this way, because that was a horse that everybody should have won on.
Yeah.
And it was you won or like, girl, like you did not win.
Yeah.
You know, but I have never felt so connected to a horse that I was just like, we got each other.
Yeah.
Like there was something kinetic that was just like, we physically understand what the other one needs. And I even like went back and rode him after I graduated, and I got back on him. And I remember I took a lesson with my college trainer, and she was like, God, I forgot. Aww. You know, and it was such a good feeling of like, and you don't get that with every horse, because there's some horses that like you have trainer ride, and I'm a very soft rider, but at the same time, like you get them and you're like telling them something, they're just like, screw, you're like, done. Hattie was never like that. Like Hattie and I were like, oh thank God it's you.
It was just a click.
And his time was cut short. So like he was there. I got 1 year on him and like met a lot of goals. Like, so he was like the Chinook crux point. Chinook was actually the one that I rode the worst.
Really?
Chinook and I like did great. Like I got some of my biggest highlights on him, but everything in between was a lot tougher. Yeah. And he was the most straightforward one. Yeah. And so I used to put a lot of pressure on myself because I'm like, everybody can ride Chinook. Why am I missing the fourth jump? Yeah. You know, it's because he's like 15.3 and has a 20-foot stride, and what you see out of the corner is not real. Yeah. Like, you know, because he's that scopy for such a little horse. Yeah. You know, so like it's funny because everybody's like, oh, Chinook. And I'm like, yeah, because I got to take care of one of my boys, but like, I didn't ride him great until later. Versus like Hattie, it was like, gotcha, like right there. So like I wish I could have. He was one of the ones that like there were 3, and he's one of the 3 that like I wish I had been able to take care of all of them. You know, and nobody got. Hattie passed away at school, and so like a couple of years later, and it's like it would have been really great for us to like. So he's gonna be one of like. You know, you get to see your horses again. Like he's gonna be one of the first I look up. Yeah. Where's my curmudgeon, dude?
Oh my God,
because there's just such a place.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you so much coming on.
Yeah,
it's been
anytime.
so fun.
I know, every time.
I mean, it's just like chat, just
talk
like
for hours.
I could,
hours
go rounds and rounds.
I know,
absolutely.
I love it. Well, we appreciate it.
Anytime.
And I'm
come
ready.
back.
Yeah,
please,
come back.
anytime.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll have to get Heather on here.
And your brother.
Yeah, and your brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pure pressure.
Yeah. Help us.
Alrighty.
All right, bye guys.
Alrighty, thanks.
Bye.
Well, friends, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Adult Amateurs Guidebook Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the discussion, as always, and be sure to like and subscribe for more real and authentic conversations about the struggles and triumphs of balancing life and horses. Until next time, cheers to adulting and happy riding, friends.